Welcome back. Just like our dear man of God did say in that video, we've got to do something about it. And first thing to do is to create the awareness and let people know exactly what the bill is. And joining us in this conversation is Barrister Tunde Ojoma. Good morning. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you on the show today.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. We
Great.
just saw that video of the online safety bill. What we do, we want to educate our viewers exactly, especially those around the world in UK. What is the online safety bill? Now, there is a narrative of what, of course, the perpetrators of this bill are trying to let people know that, okay, this is what it is about. But we know that it's a smoke screen. What really is the online safety bill?
Okay, great. The online safety bill purports to be a bill that would help to regulate the sharing of child pornography, and illegal communication over online platforms like WhatsApp, and platforms like that use end-to-end encryption, ensure privacy of communication between the parties communicating. Now, the intent as expressed by the proponents and those that passed it is to protect against child abuse, and child sex trafficking, and the idea is to ensure that platform providers place some sort of technology, that will enable them to prevent people from communicating, with this child pornography, child sex trafficking, and all sort of illegal communications. That's what the proponents say, But the reality of it is that this is a gross infringement, number one, on freedom of communication, privacy, these are fundamental human rights. And it's a slippery slope. Something can be said to be for a purpose at the beginning, but as it advances, the true purpose will come out, definitely.
Right.
Now, how are you going to determine what a communication is going to be like ahead of that communication? Because be able to, to get the platform to be able to stop that communication from being, transmitted to the other party or transmitted along the platform. Now, that's a question. Now, once you create some sort of technology, to allow the breaking into end-to-end encryption, that means end-to-end encryption can be broken in for all purposes. Because if you are going to stop this thing from being done, that means you are going to vet every communication. You understand? Because, how would you know? Who would you start vetting with? So that means the state is now going to be looking into every communication that you make.
So
This
according to
is
the
the
Lord,
danger.
barrister,
And
according
that
to
is
the
actually
Lord,
the real essence.
according to the Lord, do they have a right to do
Yes.
this? Do they actually have a right to do this?
Well, when we talk the law, there are unjust laws and there are
Okay.
laws. As if they promulgate the law, they have a right to do it. Now, but it's for us. See, government promulgates laws. People come together in a democratic society to decide which laws they would like in their, in their catchment area, so to speak. However, there are certain basic fundamental human rights that the whole world has signed to and agreed to, that look, whatever laws you pass should not infringe on these rights,
Okay.
except in, terms of course, commission of crime and all of those kind of things, an infringement on other people's rights, public safety, and so on and so forth. Now, this is where these guys come from. That look, we want to protect children. So because we want to protect children, we are coming in to, curtail your privacy or
Okay.
your right to communicate freely, so to speak.
Amazing.
Yes.
So the
So
question then
that's
is
where they come from. That's the argument.
now. So the question then is: should we actually,
The
Mary? Should
question
we
is,
actually? Should we actually trust these people? I want us to watch this video because sometimes when our
you
dear
see,
man of God,
yeah, what you said,
when our dear man of
what
God,
you're saying is right. Should we trust these people? what they are trying to do, will it actually have the effect that it's supposed to have?
It's supposed to
That is
have. So
the question. You see,
that's the reason why
encrypted
it's bringing.
platforms.
Sorry, barrister. That's the reason why it's bringing this controversy.
Right.
And you know, sometimes when our dear man of God speaks, it's as though, how do you know? Can you just, some people just feel like, okay, you don't even have the facts. I want us to watch this particular video. It was an interview that was done on a particular station, and the question was, should we actually trust these people? Watch this.
About lockdown policy, perfectly reasonable. Right now, let's talk about something that, well, kind of like went through the news cycle this week, barely touched, and that was the passing into law after a vote in the House of Lords of the Online Safety Bill. It's controversial new law aimed at, basically making social media firms more responsible for users' safety on their platforms. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? We're going to be safe. We're going to keep children safe. And especially in the wake of the awful, awful death of Molly Russell, a teenage girl who'd been looking at self-harm sites and committed suicide, of course we'd want to keep our kids safe, wouldn't we? But should law be made by basically the grieving parents of a dead child? I'm sorry, but sadly, I don't think so, because there are bigger risks involved. Let's talk to Mark Johnson. He's advocacy manager at Big Brother Watch. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. There's no doubt at all, the father of Molly Russell, I mean, my heart goes out to him. I can't think of anything more awful than what he's had to go through, losing his daughter. But he has basically had an open door to him. Every media company, every politician wanting to hear from what he had to say, and his urge for us to have more controls on what not just children, but adults as well can see online. Now, we want children. I really, really don't want my teenage daughter to be seeing self-harm sites and have algorithms that direct her in that way. But there is also a danger in allowing social media firms to get to decide what we can and can't see, isn't there?
There is, and there's been a line which campaigners that have advocated this law have used throughout, which I think we can actually all kind of agree on, which is that the law as it is offline should be upheld online. And that is a reasonable position. But what we have with this legislation is a kind of regulatory framework that hands over power to the platform to police and censor our speech way beyond criminal law in any case. Asking them to make determinations on what is and isn't permitted. And I think it's going to set free speech and privacy back decades in this country. What we have is a regulatory framework which basically says censor first and ask questions later.
Yep.
And it's very hard to see how that can work and protect free speech at the same time.
Well, indeed, and we saw only yesterday an extraordinary situation, actually, where YouTube censored something which they were putting out. It was actually on YouTube Live, which is hearings from the COVID inquiry here in the UK. And someone clipped up some clips from evidence being presented to the COVID inquiry about vaccine harms, a legitimate area of debate and discussion. And that was flagged up as disinformation and content that could not be put on the YouTube site. And it was taken down by YouTube, even though they themselves had been streaming that, and it's part of the official COVID inquiry to get to the bottom of what's going on. We cannot trust these people. We had our website taken down, our page taken down on YouTube in January 2021 for 3 interviews on my show, completely reasonable discussions with experts about vaccine rollout, about lockdown policy, perfectly reasonable debate. But no, they decided that was disinformation. Now, this isn't about disinformation. This is specifically about illegal content. But when we have things like hate crime in our law, then who gets to decide what's hate crime? Because I'm assuming I will not be allowed to say that I don't think that a man can become a woman.
Amazing. Like I did say, Barrister was talking to us, Mary, the fact that this law is targeted at being able to restrain and control what you call this information and misinformation. So you under the guise of, okay, we're trying to protect children, but this is exactly not what it is.
Yeah, I mean, going through the bill, and there are certain things that, of course, beats my imagination. First of all, it's the fact that the government is actually imposing, on the people. And so it speaks of an authoritarian system more than a democratic system, which, our guest already highlighted. So already it's already like streamlining people not to actually, like our dear man of God has said, have that freedom of speech as it were. And under the cover of what happened to Molly Russell well, and of course trying to, protect children from certain things that they see on the net. But I have certain questions, first of all. So does that mean that adults right now are not safe on the internet? That's my first question. And then the next one would be, how harmful would this be to families, children, adults, and to tech startups? Because I believe that this is also going to affect tech companies, because you're going to be having to end the end-to-end encryption. So it means that they would be pushing for private messages. So in other words, your communication with your loved ones is not safe. So in all of these things, how is this going to affect, families? How is it going to affect business, especially tech businesses over there?
Okay,
Very
great.
second.
Let me continue. I stopped because there's certain statistics I would like to, share, to let you know how futile and how totally, wrong this bill is. Now, if this bill was purported to guard against child sexual abuse,
Right.
90%, this is statistics now, of child sexual abuse is done at home by people that are close to the child. You understand? Who take advantage of the child. And in the UK, for example, where they have these foster homes and all of that, a lot of these foster homes are havens for child sexual abuse. It's been proven over and over again. So really, social media play little or no role in sexual abuse in advancing it or stopping it or whatever. Now, predators also have their very peculiar, black sites and deep internet and all that they coming through. They use gaming devices, children gaming devices and all that, to have access to these children while they're playing games, and so on and so forth. And all of these have nothing to do with end-to-end encryption of social media. You
So
understand?
this is
the
a
real
move.
reason is
This is a move
obvious.
to
They want
clamp
to
down
control
on
what you
free
communicate.
speech. So this is rightly a move to clamp down
Absolutely.
on free
That's just what
speech.
it is.
Do you think that this is more
that's
of...
just what it is, because you
Okay.
see, it's in no way, there's no way that this is going to, help to, reduce child abuse. Definitely not. Now, basically, all of these clone self-regulating systems. Now, if you share content that is not in accordance with Instagram approved, guidelines, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, all of them. Once you are reported, they check that communication. The person reporting you obviously received the communication and then sends it to them, and then this violates or whatever, and they take you off or suspend you or whatever. I know I was taken off Facebook, I was kicked off LinkedIn, I was Instagram, all because of the COVID issue, because I kept on posting material, from our ministry that I researched and found were true. You understand? So they kicked me off because I violated their rights. So that's self-regulatory. You get it? So we don't need, this is not required for the purpose for which they say, they're planning for. It's obvious that they just want to control free speech and they want to guide against the spread of truth. You understand? They will control the narrative the same way they said during COVID that they control. They want to now say we control the truth. Anything that is inconsistent with what we believe is wrong, and therefore, we will not allow it to, to be spread around. That's just what this is all about, and it's wrong.
Yeah, very true. Talking about spreading the narrative, we see them take advantage of several or certain media platforms in ensuring that they are disinforming people about the true intent of this bill. We want to show you a video of a particular interview that happened at a particular TV station, and this was narrowed down in ensuring that the one who had the voice against the bill was brought down. Watching this particular video of this could lead to a paradigm shift when it comes to this movement of the bill. Watch this.
Signal is the world's most widely used, truly private communication service. We're not big tech, we're a nonprofit. We don't make money through surveillance, and we offer our services for free because we think everyone deserves the human right to safety, privacy, and freedom of speech. So I'm here today not as a politician, but as someone who's deeply concerned about one singular provision in the online safety bill that threatens to undermine encryption and fundamental security of the core infrastructure of the UK, but the world around beyond that.
Damian Collins, what the government is proposing is mass surveillance. It would hand power to repressive regimes the world over.
No, I don't accept that. I mean, this bit of the online safety bill we're talking about is an important but quite small piece of the bill, dealing with messaging services, and it only relates to child sexual exploitation content. So the worst content, where it is not a matter of context, it is without dispute that this content is vile and it is illegal. And what we want companies to do is to use their best endeavours to proactively detect content related to child sexual exploitation, so that it can be flagged and investigated.
What do you make of what you've just heard?
What I can say is that there is no way to create a backdoor that only the good guys can walk through. And what's being proposed here in the context of end-to-end encryption is a backdoor. And we know from decades of history, from decades of serious research, that there's no such thing as a safe backdoor. If the British police can get in, hackers can get in. If the British police can get in, hostile nations can get in. If the British police can get in, Putin can get in, the Iranian government can get in, and others wanting to do harm can get in. So it's really important that we maintain the security and integrity of these systems.
I agree with Meredith on that point. I mean, I don't think it would be safe to say there's a safe backdoor, because once you create it, other people will find it as well. That's why we're not going to ask companies to break encryption. What the regulator would do, I would imagine with a company like Signal, is when the regulator, Ofcom, is creating the codes of practice, they might say to Signal, well, what sort of data do you gather? And if Signal says, well, we don't gather data about people's messages, we can't possibly look at this, the regulator won't say you need to break encryption. It'll say that's fine, but you do have policies, let's say, on legal and appropriate use. How do you enforce those? What do you do?
None of that is specified in the bill, and this is our concern, because we hear things that are sensible like that from people like you, and then we look at the bill, and what is specified is a regime that would give Ofcom the power to demand that everyone in the UK download spyware that checks their messages before they're sent against a database of what is permissible to say and send and what is not permissible. And that is a precedent that authoritarian regimes are looking to the UK to set, to point to a liberal democracy that was the first to expand surveillance in the terms of the UN Human Rights Commissioner. This is unprecedented paradigm-shifting surveillance, and paradigm-shifting not in the good way.
What do you do if there are child abuse images being shared on Signal? What is your, dealing with law enforcement on that point? Or do you just not know?
Look, this gets down to the brass tacks and the facts of, the rules of mathematics, the rules of physics. There is either encryption that protects everyone.
But there's child abuse images that could be shared on your platform that you wouldn't know about, or you would know about, but you won't tell law enforcement.
There is either a backdoor that lets me and the Russian government and hackers in. We can't look. Encryption either permits me and everyone to look or no one to look.
So if child abuse is being shared on your platform, you don't know?
We absolutely cannot know. And look, this is concerning, but there are other law enforcement tools. Look, the independent review of children's social services, the UK's own, recommended $2.6 billion in funding over the next 6 years for child welfare services. These are the essential services that prevent abuse. What did they get? About 7% of that. So, I champion people like Damian and others really putting the pedal to the metal on this issue and demanding that the government do more.
Get ready. If you really paid attention to the video, you would realize that they were trying to make a point, to say, no, are you trying to say now she is someone who has a tech company that is involved in encryption, and they are raising a concern that if all powers are given to Ofcom to decide what becomes acceptable online, it's a breach of human rights. Now, they want to get at her to say, now the other man is speaking for the government, saying, look, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. Then they want to put her in the corner to say, look, are you trying to say that if that kind of stuff is going on your platform, you're not going to know? And she's given an overwhelming statistics that in the UK, many of this child abuse go home right at home. and the budget, and there are other means and other ways of tackling such menaces in the society. Now, Barrister, finally, I want us to talk to people. If we let this happen, are there things that we can do about it using the law, going about it legally to bring an end to this particular bill and having it have the royal accent and being passed into law? What can we do according to the law to ensure that this never comes to fruition?
Okay, great. The people that are affected, like the lady who's the owner of a platform, communication platform and all that, they could sue, but people like that have come to realize over time that, look, they don't want to waste money suing. They would rather stop their services in that country and move on to other countries where they're required. Now, individuals who use this and who want their communication to be could also sue. We have come to understand that not all laws are just. Not all laws are right.
Right.
Do you understand? Because the people who make the laws are human beings, they're fallible. They can have different agendas, they can have different motives, and all of that. So if we expose all of these motives and we argue our cases based on already established rules of law, and practice, then we can, knock these laws and stop them from being promulgated. So we can actually do that, and we do that prayerfully. We prepare for it, we go after it, and we do it prayerfully. Then we'll be able to put an end to unjust laws. I mean, when the white people came to Africa, they used the doctrine of repugnance to see our natural justice, who a lot of African practice, so to speak, because once you establish that, look, this conscience this is not in line with good conscience. These are fundamental human rights. This is not in line with fundamental human rights. Safety notwithstanding, this is not the best or this alternative will not in any way protect them as they are said it will, then we'll be able to knock them out. So, like I always say, make you for a reason to protect you as much as they can. And if we do that prayerfully, of course we'll succeed.
Yeah, very true. Still talking about human rights, Barrister, there's a particular video and a particular thing Armando Goddy tell us in one of the Your Love Worlds about forced vaccination to young girls. And we see this already happening in several parts of the state within Nigeria. And there has been a call of a so-called virus or so-called pandemic that is coming. And in preparing for this pandemic, parents are supposed to vaccinate their girls from the ages of 9 to 14. Please let's watch this video. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this.
My name is Dr. Abimbola Mabogunje. I'm the Permanent Secretary of Health District 6. This is an announcement about the upcoming human papilloma virus vaccination, which comes up on the 25th of September till the 30th of September. It is for all girls aged between 9 years and 14 years old. Please let your girls come out and be vaccinated. You can go to they're coming to all schools. They're going to be in all primary healthcare centers. We're going to be going around and seeing children wherever we can and in religious centers. It is safe, it is protective against cervical cancer, and it is free of charge. It is supported by the Lagos State government and most especially the First Lady of Lagos State, Dr. Ebijoke Sanwo-Olu. Please bring your girls out to be vaccinated. It is for their benefit. Let us keep our girls safe in Lagos State.
Now, this particular video, like you heard the Permanent Secretary say there, is for the protection of our girls from cancer or what have you. Now, we've had some parents who have refused. Barrister, what are the legal implications, for a parent when we're not refusing to take the vaccines, the students refusing to take the vaccines, and they are being victimized by the school authorities or by this so-called commission for refusing to take the vaccines? What are the legal implications about this?
Okay, you have every right to refuse to take a vaccine. You understand? That's what consent in medicine is all about. Anybody that wants to vaccinate you or give you medication tells you, hey, look, these are the contents of the vaccine or the medication, these are the side effects and so on and so forth. Are you willing to take that treatment, or would you prefer not to take the treatment? And then you make it, you understand? Medication is not force. It cannot be by force. It shouldn't be by force. Up until COVID, came out, forceful medication was very limited in a way, except, in pursuance of an agenda of the population, like we now know. So we can resist, and this should resist. You understand? They should get in touch with lawyers, get in touch with civil rights advocates, NGOs, and all of them, and do something about it, because nobody should be discriminated against for refusing to take medication. I mean, cancer is not, how would I put it? Cancer, you can't communicate cancer from someone else. It's not a communicable disease, so to speak. You get it? So why should you force me? It's my body, it's my light. Exactly. If I want to die, I want to die. That's my business. So you can't be to stay alive. You get it? So there is no issue of public safety to warrant, imposing that obligation on anyone or victimizing them because of it.
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask you this question because there's also complaints of some parents who found out that their daughters already had taken the vaccine, So in that regard, for those that have taken the vaccine, is there something they can do legally in this regards to actually fight for that? And what word of caution would you give them? Because the vaccine has been taken. So what next for them?
Well, they can sue, the authorities for vaccinating their children without their consent.
Secrecy.
If the children have consent, I believe in Nigeria that would be 18. Then you can't forcefully vaccinate the child without telling the parent about it. So they can sue for infringement on that right. It's criminal. It can be a criminal. It's assault to cause, with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. A lot of offenses can come out of that. So you can sue and you can institute criminal proceedings against, the authorities who did that to your child. And most importantly, your child. You understand? So that people are not able to use your child to do without your child telling you. That's very important. The children that usually fall victim of this kind of things are children who have become truant or who the parents don't, have such a close relationship with. I'm not blaming the parents in any way. I'm just suggesting what can be done to ensure that this, if my children are in school and you tell them to do something without my consent, they're definitely going to refuse, and that's how it should be. And that's based on training and relationship building between parent and child, which is what every parent should do to ensure that their children are not hoodwinked into doing things that they shouldn't do because they don't understand the implications. So legal action can be taken,
Thank you so much, Barrister. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We're indeed grateful. But this is a clarion call to many parents around the world.
Right.